What's up, everybody? This is Messiah Hill, and this is the scooter backflip. Oh, yeah. Woo.
Wait, Dad, do we have a podcast tonight?
Oh, yes. See, I'm going to be late.
Here, you're going to need this.
Thank you.
Hurry up.
Yo, what's up, senders? Hey, happy Friday. It is a Friday. We're doing the podcast on a Friday night tonight. Hope everyone is back from work. I see we got some folks in the audience already. I see some folks are still driving, maybe driving from home. I see Trail Pimp out there saying, I'm driving down to Folsom. Love you guys. What's up? What's up, Trail Pimp? Welcome to the podcast. Steve, hey, spokesman. I'll see you in Sedona soon, man. I can't wait for that. That's going to be like, what are we, a week and a half away? I wish it was this weekend, but that's going to be super fun. Whole Shot Award, as always, the whole shot for tonight's podcast is going out to Tumor Warrior. Yes, sir. Excited for this one. He says, dude, guys, we're on a Friday night. Hope you guys have a cold beverage in your hand. Where's my cold beverage? I have one in the fridge. I might have to go get it here in a little bit. Good to see everybody. Hope everybody had a great week. And we are marching down towards Sedona Mountain Bike Fest. And I can't wait. I don't know who's all going to be there that's in the audience, but if you're going to be there, chime it in the chat. What's up, Life O'Reilly? Oh, baller intro. I had to borrow the car and then, pay for the rental and all that other stuff. Burrell Bikes out of Idaho. What's up, man? So date night is with Mark for all of us. Yes. Grab a drink. It's on me. It's in your fridge. And enjoy, you guys. It's going to be a great one tonight. Tonight's guest is Jeremy Kneisly, and he is a gentleman that I met when he was at Tasco. Extremely talented writer, extremely talented apparel designer, web marketer. The guy is a jack of all trades, and I'm excited to have him on the show tonight. And it's going to be awesome. Yo, SoCal, what's up, Dan? He's saying, who's going to Sedona? Yeah, who is going to Sedona? Spokesman's going to be there. It's going to be super fun. Spokesman, are you already there? He says, relaxing in a hotel room in Flagstaff on my way to Santa Cruz for my first ride in almost 3 months. Oh, welcome back to Cali. That's right, Mr. Durango. Welcome back. You're going to be in the Northern California area where our guest is from. Gosh, I'm trying to think. Do I have anything? Is there anything going on this weekend? What are you guys doing this weekend? Where are you riding? And I don't think we have any races this weekend or anything that I know of. I just saw Jeremy Kneisly at Over the Hump a couple weekends ago. He was getting ready to tear it up. And I believe, the guy, he just looks fast. I had my son, so I was doing slushies and snacks and everything else, and I didn't really get to see him. I didn't really get to see him race, but I bet he killed it. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's bring on the guest for tonight for the segment podcast. Welcome aboard, Jeremy Kneisly.
Mark.
Yo, Jeremy, what's up, bud?
What's happening? Thanks for having me.
Dude, it's good to see you, man. And for the folks who don't know you, obviously I know you because when you worked at Tasco, I got to meet you there. You were one of the main designers or the designer there. And I fell in love with everything that you did. The Scout shorts are my favorite shorts ever, which are, I still actually wearing Scout shorts right now. And then into the pants that you guys made and everything else. But tell the folks a little bit about who is Jeremy Kneisly.
Yeah, for sure. So it's Jeremy Kneisly.
Kneisly.
Yeah, it's right. Almost no one gets it, so you're good.
Good. I'm in the bell curve.
Yeah, I guess I grew up in Aptos. I think you kind of touched on that in the intro. Super bike culture, and I was always around it. But like growing up, I rode primarily as a way to train for motocross. I was racing mostly moto growing up, and yeah, so I've always like kind of just loved art, and I went to school for graphic design,
Oh,
so
dang.
that's kind of how I originally got into doing graphics. Um, I wound up in Southern California for college. I went down to San Diego
Oh,
for the Art Institute. So
oh,
that was
nice.
like
Oh boy.
super fun, you know, different
Yeah.
zone. But I wasn't really writing at all. I was just going to school, and like towards the end of college, I was super out of shape, like you know, just doing the college thing. And I had this like P3, I think it was called, a specialized hardtail, kind of a dirt jumper, and I hopped back on that thing and started getting in shape. And then pretty much from that point, I've been just riding, I don't know, 4 times a week since like
Dude,
2009, basically.
dang, bit by the bug for sure. Now,
Yeah.
when you were doing moto, I obviously, well, actually, let me just pop this up for the folks that are watching this live right now. Jeremy rips, and I always, I'm newer to mountain biking, you know, but I always feel like the folks that come from moto, Don Zabo, Steve Caballero, like the guys that Destin Cantrell, they just freaking rip when they get on mountain bikes. And here is some of that going on. Where is this? Right here. I think right here. Oh, that's you following your son. That's Sky Park.
Yeah, that's Skyfar. Yeah, that's what is that? Arrow? No, that's
Yeah.
Sleigh
Oh,
Ride.
sleigh ride.
Yeah.
Oh man, Sky Park is so good. Yeah, there's a clip right here. Maybe this is it. Sedona with the mountain bike fest coming up. This is you
Yeah.
ripping.
Oh yeah. I don't know if this is me. That's Gabe. So that's Gabe, and that's David Lieb,
Oh yeah,
who's
yeah.
like
That's
a super ripper.
Tasco Squad. That's right.
Yeah, so that was me just like putting some clips of our trip. We had like we last year we went had a pretty big crew. We all stayed in this Airbnb and just had a blast.
I love it out there. It's such a pretty place. Um, but as far as like you training for moto and being on the mountain bike, did a lot of those skills, you know, transfer over real easily when it comes to cornering and just bike handling? Do you feel like?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's not a direct translation, at least in my experience. Like you for sure you get some handling. But now that I've been riding bikes for so long, I go back to ride a motocross bike, and like I
Uh,
could barely ride a moto. Like
re-
I would need like months to reacclimate. So there's definitely some skills that transfer, but I don't know
yeah.
if it's like if you're good at moto, you're automatically good at mountain biking.
Yeah, I for some reason I feel like it. I just seen so many folks that come over and they're like the way that they eye the lines, the way that they handle the bike. I think too even the jumps because a lot of those moto
Mhm.
guys are sending like 100-foot jumps, and
Dude,
when
like
it comes to a
David or Huffman,
yes,
he's
yes,
he's on that N10s, their e-bike, and
right.
like it's amazing to watch him on that bike. He's sending it.
Oh man, it must feel
Yeah,
like child's play to some of those guys. Like 100 feet. Now I'm doing like 15 foot. That's not that big.
yeah.
20 foot. That's not that big, and it's a lot
Don't even
slower.
have to think about it.
Exactly, exactly. So you grew up in Aptos. Looks like we got spokesman MTB out here. He's saying, "Love me some SF Bay. All right, Wilder
Oh yeah,
Ranch, and possibly
dude. I go back. I
UCSD."
went back a few months ago, and I haven't been for a while. And I'm just going like, why did I ever leave this place? It's amazing. You know, it's like the trails are good. It's the weather is good. Trail. I mean, ah, it's amazing up there.
Now, is it true? I don't know, but is it true that mountain biking literally started out there in
Yeah,
Marin
a bit
County?
north of Santa Cruz. Yeah, in Marin, I think.
Okay,
I'm not sure exactly. There's a Mount Tam, I think, was like the famous kind of like the first trail system.
man.
I could be wrong, but that's what comes to mind anyway.
I feel like for us here in Southern California, whenever we go up north and we get like that loamy type of dirt, you know, that's real
Yeah,
sticky and fun to ride. It's like, wow, what is this? This is so
right.
good. So
Yeah,
good.
yeah. It was really fun when we went up. I went up with my son, Yeah, you saw him in the video. So he's pretty good. Like he's been riding since he was like 2 years old. So he's got like handling skills, right? So I'm trying to
Yeah.
get him to climb more. So we went out to Nicene Marks, which is like I grew up in Aptos, like pretty close to the trailhead at Nicene Marks. And there's this climb that goes up to Sand Point. It's like a pretty rad lookout. And so I took him up that climb, trying to get him to the top, and we didn't quite make it. But yeah, it was fun because like that was my trail as a kid. So to take my son there was super fun.
Oh man, that must have been a cool look back. How did he do on the climb? I know how my son does on climbs.
Yeah, I mean, he did good, honestly. Like, and I'll like just reach a hand out on his back and like give him some boosts every so often,
Yeah.
just to
Yeah.
kind of keep the motivation going.
Totally. That's so good. I love the father and son time. I recently purchased a seat called the shotgun seat. I think it's the shotgun or Kids Ride Shotgun Pro. So it,
Yeah,
it
I've seen
doesn't
those.
even touch the frame. It just like there's a clip around the seat post and a clip around the headset of my bike. And my kiddo is just loving it. He's like, "Let's go, Dad." I even did a
Yeah,
race where I think you saw me at OTH.
I
I
saw
raced.
you. Yeah, and actually, there's a over the hump race this tomorrow.
Oh, yes. Okay, yes, there you go. Over the hump race, and, yeah, that's going on this weekend. There it is. US SoCal's
Yeah,
backing it up right there.
yeah,
OTH
and
tomorrow.
there's another I forget what they called it, basically e-bike race too.
Yes, it's gotta be the SSB Kilowatt.
Yeah, that's it.
Yes. Oh,
It's a good
dude,
name.
that's what I did, that's what I took Madison on, the SSB Kilowatt race,
Yeah.
and, I don't wanna tell him, but I think we got completely last. On
Wait, so he rode on that seat with you.
Yeah, it was amazing. He rode on the shotgun seat, and so, he got to see everything, like coming into the corners, taking the corners, doing the climbs, those crazy switchbacks on the backside by the
Yeah.
lake,
Yeah, dude.
and,
Oh yeah. So I rode that by accident in practice
uh-huh,
because that was only for the e-bike race,
yeah,
but it was like
it's
taped off when I was pre-riding.
uh-huh.
So I took a group of guys up there by accident, and I was like,
Oh,
I don't think we ride this. It's kind of steep and tight.
dude, it was so steep and so switchbacky, like, for the folks that did it, some of the corners, if you pedal too hard, like, that front end just wants to lift up with the motor. on the
Yeah.
on the E, and, man, you should have heard Madison the whole time, like, "Come on, Dad, this is a race," and there was a there was a lady that was in front of me, and I think I'm gonna just say it, I think her bike was unlocked.
Mm.
And I could not catch her in the straights, and my son was like, "Come on, Dad, this is a race, what are you doing?" Yeah.
That's so good.
Oh, man, he was killing me, he was killing me. Spokesman saying here, going back to where mountain biking started, he says MTB started on Mount Tam, just like you said, in Marin, with guys like Keith Bontrager, Richie Joe Breeze. Look for film Clunkers, classic
Yeah,
story.
that's a good film. They're on like they basically look like beach cruisers, like modified.
Uh,
Super. I mean, it's like so. I can even imagine trying to ride, that type of bike, and they're going fast. Like it's super cool.
That's crazy. That's crazy. Yeah, right. Because the mountains are the same as they are today as they were back then. It's just that now we have all this like nice geometry, super
Yeah.
sweet, bikes that can handle a lot of stuff, which is crazy to think of guys that are just jamming down the hills in those bikes before. Um,
Hmm.
so Jeremy, when you were mountain biking back then, did you get into it because of the family, or was it a friend, or how'd you start?
Yeah, man. I don't know. I think it was a neighborhood friend. One of my buddies in the neighborhood. His dad was like pretty into mountain bikes. I remember they had. I mean, I don't know. I forget what the bike was, but it had this front fork on it. It's called a AMP or AMP maybe front
Uh-huh.
fork. It's like this. It's not your standard. Think about a front fork. It has like this triangle right beneath the steer tube, and then it just has like rigid legs that come down. And
Oh,
the bike just looked amazing. He had it all decked out with like like colored bolts, and I think it was carbon. And so that just seeing that bike, I remember like I want to get a bike. Like that thing is insane looking.
right.
And my friend had a specialized. It was an FSR it must have been a stump jumper. It was a full suspension. It was like their first one. It was lime green with the red rock shock on it, and
Sick.
so like that was just like seeing those, and then we had this empty lot next to our house that we had built like jumps on and stuff. So yeah, I mean, honestly, we started on BMX bikes, and then as soon as we could, we got some mountain bikes, and they were funny. Like my first one was a K2. It was called
Okay.
a beast. and like if you don't know what this is, like Google it because they're amazing. It's got a swing arm,
Uh-huh.
like a moto style swing arm, and I think it had like an
Whoa.
elastomer shock on it. But the front fork was a dual crown front fork. But I mean, the geometry was like cross
Like
country bike
90
geometry, right? But it was
degrees.
kind of yeah, it kind of looked like a downhill bike.
Oh
But it had
God.
a dual crown, and on the top of the fork, it had a digital. It was called like a smart fork or a smart adjustment thing. It basically had like a watch face on the top of the fork,
Oh,
and you could
nice.
like it didn't do anything. I guarantee it did nothing. It was just like for
It's like
looks.
gimmicky.
Yeah, because it was an elastomer fork, so I don't know what it could have done.
Right.
Should try
Put
to dig into that and find out.
push on the elastomer just like a teeny bit more or something.
Yeah, but the other thing was cool is it had Magura brakes. They were rim brakes, but they were hydraulic.
Whoa, no
Yeah,
way.
so
Holy cow.
that was pretty amazing for back
That's
then.
pretty cool that was like state of the art, man.
Yeah, so that was like the first bike, and we would like my brother had a Santa Cruz Bullet. That was a really cool bike. I don't know why he got such a nicer bike than me, but
You're like, "Hey,
but
wait a
yeah.
minute."
Wait a second, I got a K2. But yeah, we'd all just ride from our house down to Nicey Marks, and we had the little loop. We built jumps all the time. Like back when we were kids in Santa Cruz, there was a ton of little empty lots, and they all had jumps in them. So we'd go just cruise around and hit the jumps and ride the trails.
It was so fun, man. So fun. So you kind of grew up doing that and riding, and you kept going, and then you got into graphic design. So we're getting closer to how like you started working for like Troy Lee and
Mhm.
eventually to Tasco as well. But were you always like did mountain biking help with your creativity? Were you always creative and that helped with your mountain biking, or were they two separate things?
Yeah, I think it definitely helps. I've always kind of been creative. Like when I was real young, my dad had always had these like Apple or like Macintosh computers. And I
Uh-huh.
remember one of them. It was I think it was black and white at that point, but it had like this drawing program on it. And I was kind of into skateboarding back then, so I had this brand, and it was literally it was my brand. I called it
Oh,
obsolete skateboard,
sweet.
and I used to like design the decks in there. And then I got really into drawing shoes, so I have like books full of like shoe sketches from I don't know, probably like elementary school.
Whoa.
Yeah,
Whoa.
so that it's pretty fun to look back on that stuff. So I guess I've always been into like design apparel a little bit.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
cool. I mean, that's something that you didn't just fall into. You kind of already had the passion for it, and then off to college. That was the you picked that, and then how did you get to Troy Lee from San Diego when you were at school there? Was that one of the first jobs that you got into?
So yeah, my first job. It's actually a good story. Okay, this is how things happen, and it's just like kind of luck and I guess like luck and preparation kind of. I was at a I was at a coffee shop in San Diego. I'm still in school. I don't know like I'm pretty new to the area, so I don't know any companies down here or down in San Diego. And I see a card on a like a bulletin board in a coffee shop, and it's a One Industries business card. It's this dude, Cody was his name, and I'm like, dude, One Industries. Like I was a huge fan of One Industries when I was racing moto. I was actually sponsored by them, like as
Whoa.
a amateur or whatever, like little discount program or something.
Yeah.
So I was pretty familiar with them. I mean, I was literally collecting their catalogs for inspiration. So I was like blown away. And I kind of forgot about it, honestly. I was busy at school. And then maybe like 2 years later, like towards the end of college, I was on looking for a job. I was on Craigslist, and there was a production artist job posting, totally anonymous, like no company attached to it. And I applied for it, and I got an email back, and it was from One Industries.
From Cody? No
From one,
way.
not
Oh,
from Cody, but it was from One
from
Industries, and
One
they're like,
Industries?
"Yeah, we're looking for a guy to do like the production art for bike graphics."
Dude, what the heck?
I know, right? So I'm like,
That's crazy.
That's me. Like, heck yeah, I want to do that.
Yeah.
And the job was like, it was perfect for coming out of school, and it was obviously a company that I was interested in, so I hopped on it. But it was like super entry level. Like it was so for motocross graphics, they design it on the most current bike. So whatever like the current year is, it'd be like 2023 KTM, whatever. And then so my job was to take that one graphic and then apply it to all of the previous models because the shrouds are shaped differently and you have to like
Oh,
move the
wow.
art around and all that stuff.
Oh, dang.
So I do that and I like set it up for screen print, and that was it.
Whoa. Whoa. So it's kind of like somewhat creative, but a little tedious at the same time.
Totally, yeah. I mean, it was good because you're literally working in Illustrator like 8 to 10 hours a day, and just to get so proficient at that program helped a ton. And eventually, I moved into the design department at One Industry and was working on graphics. I was doing some of the like the actual design for the bikes, and just like graphic design projects. And so I'm riding at this point. I'm like pretty obsessed with mountain biking, and I'm the only person really at the company. There's two of us that ride mountain bikes, and so One Industries wants to design a mountain bike apparel collection.
No way.
Yeah, so they're doing like right
Oh,
now they're doing helmets and motocross gear, but they want to launch a mountain bike apparel collection.
where did that come from? Did they see the market, mountain bike market, like that there was a lot of like cross pollination from athletes going back and forth to each sport?
Yeah, I think that's part. I think that's part of it, and I think a lot of the a lot of like the factories that make motocross gear, they're the same. They're the same factories that make mountain bike products,
Oh, so they already
and
had distribution set up and everything
yeah,
else ready to
and they're
go.
seeing like TLD, like really investing in both sports. So,
Gotcha.
yeah.
Gotcha.
So I mean, at that point, I was like, I have to be a part of that somehow. Like I don't know how to design apparel, but like I'll do anything basically to just
Yeah.
like learn it. And
Smart.
I got super lucky, and the art or the creative director kind of like took me under his wing and just taught me how, like through it was really on that first apparel collection from One Industries. I designed like one short, a jersey, one glove, and I did some graphics. Um, and yeah, since then, like that's what I've been doing is basically designing technical apparel.
Whoa. Now, like, walk us through a little bit about what that looks like, because I can imagine like the design thing. You're putting up some graphics that'll look cool, but when you're actually designing something, I'm sure that's like it's all three dimensional and how it fits on someone's body and how it applies when the body moves. Is it really difficult to learn?
Yeah, it is. It's hard. I mean, you really the degree or the schooling that you would need is like a fashion design degree,
Oh, holy
and
crap!
that's where you learn like patterning and fit and all the stuff that I kind of like have picked up over the last um, 14 years, I guess.
Wow.
But like One Industries was great because they were big enough to where they had a pattern maker, they had a person to build out the specs, and they had someone to source the fabrics that we wanted to use, and they had a whole team for development, which is basically communicating the designer's um, artwork to the factory that's going to be making it, and just coordinating to make sure that everything is kind of as intended.
Got it.
So like
Got
through that process, like working with those 4 different teams and kind of just like picking up what they do,
Yeah.
it was actually really beneficial because when I started at Troy Lee, it was like just designers did everything. Like designers designed the product, developed the product, spec the product.
Whoa.
Yeah,
So you didn't have like like teams weren't you weren't in silos. It was the designer that did from start to finish. Whereas at one, you were able to like have like your silo, and then somebody else would kind of pick up the other part. Somewhat of a team. It sounded like.
exactly. Yeah. So like, I mean, does anyone want me to kind of run through the process, or is that overkill?
No, go for it. I mean, it's pretty fascinating how, we wear these clothes all the time, but to stop and think like, how in the heck did this come from someone's head into
Right.
what we're wearing out there, and it still looks good and feels good, and you can go wear it on and off the bike. So yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I'll give like a simplified kind of process, but so at when you have a big team, as a design team, your goal is to make something that looks good and is functional. So like a lot of times the way you kind of figure out what works is like fortunately I ride so I can just like you should see my attic. I have a entire rolling rack like full of shorts that are just from different brands and different fits and everything. So like I just you really like you figure out what kind of the custom first you figure out the customer. So it's going to be like a downhill kit? Is it going to be more of like a trail kit? And that kind of like defines your material and your fit a little bit. You can always play with fit, and it kind of changes over time too, like preference and all that. But yeah. So at one, it would be like I design it. So I sit down, I like pick the fabric, I design the short. So like the cut of it, where the pockets are, how long the zippers are, like how tall is the waistband, does it have belt loops, like that type of stuff.
Wow.
How is it constructed? Like is it a seamless kind of like leg opening, or is it a double needle? You kind of like it's all kind of defined by the end use, I guess, in a way.
Yeah.
So you build what's called a tech pack, and that tech pack has the artwork, and then it calls out every single detail. So, like I just mentioned, like how long, what type of zipper it is, how long it is, what angle it's at,
Wow. Double
how
stitched and
deep is the
glued and
pocket bag, and everything like that. Yeah,
really. Whoa. Whoa.
yeah.
And then if it's
So
like DH or enduro or trail, then it's like how thick is little things, right? How thick is the material, but then is it also cooling? I mean, holy cow, there's so much to think about.
totally, yeah. And a lot of times there's constraints as far as like the target cost you're trying to design to. So like you kind of work back obviously from the retail price, and you
Mm,
say like if it's $100 short, then I need to design it to this target cost, so that it can actually retail for what it needs to.
good Lord. So many things that go into it. I'm just thinking of
Yeah,
like the design and functionality. Then that's a big one. The price. If it's too unattainable, then no one's going to be wearing it.
yeah, and that comes with like I mean usually that's defined before you sit down to design,
Yeah.
because you need to know like how many zippers you can put on it, because zippers are expensive, you know,
Mm,
and fabric is probably the number one driver of price. So if you go with a name brand shoulder or something that's like super expensive, that's gonna heavily influence the retail.
wow. Dang. That's crazy, man. I had no idea that all that goes into that's just the design part, right? And then
Yeah,
there's like testing to make sure that it's gonna do well, and then manufacturers who's gonna not take your money and run, who's actually gonna be able to
yeah, yeah,
perform and ship. Gee.
yeah. I mean, luckily, a lot of the manufacturers that make motocross and mountain bike gear are like super well established, and they work with Most brands, honestly. Like it's kind of, there's like maybe 4 or 5 factories that handle almost all of the gear that you guys ride in.
Really? No way. Only 4 or 5? Are they all overseas for the most
Yeah,
part?
pretty much. Yeah.
Okay. That definitely helps with the cost, I'm sure. I'm sure. Spokesman has a couple things he wants to chime in real quick. He says, Aldous Freehand, old school design software. Do you recognize that?
Ooh, no, I've
No.
never heard of that.
And then he also saying, for your Troy Lee, he says Troy Lee has always been a leading creative force in MTB. Remember the little skull stickers that came with the helmets?
I do, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So you're at one, and then the next step is you get over into TLD. But was it kind of like the experience of the mountain bike apparel you were doing with One Industries that was able to get you over to TLD, or did they have an opening, or somebody went over there and pulled you over? How'd that happen?
Yeah. So it's another kind of just I guess a luck story. I was in Laguna, doing some downhill shuttles on Telonix, and
Nice.
I just ran into this guy, and I ended up shuttling with him. Well, he was inside sales for Troy Lee,
I love when that
and
happens.
yeah, and the designer was leaving. He had started his own company. This guy's really talented. His name's Ben. He started Hip Lock. Have you heard
Okay.
of Hip Lock?
Not yet, no.
No, it's really cool. It's a lock that you can wear as a belt.
Oh, crazy.
Yeah, you've probably seen them, but he started that business and was moving, I think, out of the country to kind of like ramp it up. And so there was an opening, and the the sales rep name is Ryan, and he was like, "Hey, you should come work for Troy Lee because we have an opening." And
Dude,
so I was
that's
like, "Yeah,
crazy.
definitely, I'll check it out."
That's crazy. That's crazy. So when you go to these interviews for these jobs, these creative jobs like that, is it hard? Like, do they because there seems like there's so many aspects to that job that you have to be proficient at and good at, right?
Right.
Is it and it sounds like a Troy Lee, like you do it all. So how did you go from having a team to being like, yeah, man, I can do it all? Did you have to show them
Yeah,
something
that's a
or
super good question. Yeah. I don't know. I don't think, like, as a creative, when you're applying for jobs, you have a portfolio
Hmm,
that shows like your past work. And for me, that was a lot of graphic design and a few products. So, but I think when I started at Troy Lee, the position wasn't as big as, I don't want to say I made it, but I think it was kind of intended to be like a junior role.
okay.
And I was just so driven and basically obsessed with designing apparel that I kind of just like ran with a lot of stuff, honestly. And you know, it worked. Like sales was loving it, Troy was liking the gear, and so it kind of just like grew. Like the bike line grew a ton. We ended up, so I was designing and developing at Troy Lee for only about 1 year, and
Okay.
then I was able to hire a developer, or I say I, but it was really we hired a developer. It was actually my brother, so he came on,
Nice.
and then so now we're like, now got more horsepower. The line's growing, so I'm able to hand off designs to Nick, and he's able to communicate with the factory and kind of like take on half of this role, which was good because like we had probably 3x the product range, and
Okay.
it was just a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, ended up kind of just um, yeah, basically owning the bicycle um, business in a way, at least the
Wow.
product. Like it
Wow.
was, we had this awesome team. Um, we all still are super good friends. There was uh, industrial designer who was actually designing the helmets. So he's like building the 3D models.
Oh,
We
wow.
had a guy designing protection, and then we had the graphic designer, and then myself and my brother.
Wow, that was the team there at TLD, just like pumping out all
Yeah,
those
that was
products?
yeah, that was for bike,
Dang,
and then there's
dang,
another team for moto that we're doing like really cool stuff.
dang. I'm going back in your Instagram right now to see if it takes me back to the TLD days, but if not, I could always pop up the TLD website, and then we can always pop over to Tasco as well. But what are some of the main products that were really successful that kind of help change the sport, so to speak, you know, and you're pumping out all this stuff because
Sure, yeah.
there's a lot of people riding TLD.
Man, I don't. Yeah, I think probably a lot of the stuff hasn't honestly changed too much. The Ruckus short is pretty similar to the one that I designed.
Okay,
It's been changed a tiny bit. The Ace glove is the same still, and what else? Skyline's pretty much the same.
dude, those
So a
are
lot of the stuff that I did is still like it's still pretty similar.
whoa, that's crazy. Say those products again, just so for folks to know, they're probably riding in them right now.
Yeah. So we the Ruckus short, the Ace short, the Skyline short, and then for jerseys it was also I designed the sprint pant. That was the downhill specific
Dang,
kit.
Jeremy, that's cool,
Yeah.
man. That's really cool.
Yeah.
As far as like the graphic, I know that there was a graphic designer you said on the team, but were you able to get your any of your graphics on any products that went out there?
Yeah. So every product actually.
Really?
The graphic designer was working on helmets.
Oh, damn. Oh my gosh, man. That is awesome. That is really cool. You have a question here from Spokesman MTB says, what have the most impactful innovations been in garment design in the last 5 years? And who is the leader in that space today?
Yeah. Man, there's so much good product out there. It would be hard to say. Like I think like if I was to go out and pick what I thought was the best, it would probably be like a jersey from I'm just throwing out random companies, but let's say like a jersey from Dakine and a short from Fox, you know? Because like,
Mhm.
yeah, there's a lot of good stuff. I think that Fox has done an amazing job, like really improving their like their durability and their fits and everything. Like they've always been amazing, but I think especially like in the last few years, I've really noticed like so much product too, and like pretty innovative stuff. As far, I guess, like so, I'm not just throwing out innovative. Like if you see some of like the base layer stuff,
Okay.
I
Yeah.
think Fox had like they had like a undershort that had protection built into it, and that's something like I love when product can kind of be like multi-use or
Mm.
integrated in certain ways. Like to me, that's what's really kind of next level.
Yeah, that's cool. It has like a couple different purposes.
Mm.
You know, the fit, the performance, and then it could be some protection on there or lead into something else or attached to like neck brace or whatever the case
Yeah,
is.
yeah,
That's
convertible stuff. Like I don't know, I've always loved doing jackets and windbreakers just because they're so useful and they're fun. You know, they pack up, and so you can come up with creative ways to stash them, and you know, it's all pretty fun. But like, I think what Specialized did with SWAT was really pretty cool, and like I don't know that a lot of riders really used it as it was intended, but they had a they had a pocket on their short. It wasn't a pocket. It was just a zipper. So the short just zips open, and then you can access the pocket in the bib or in the liner short,
uh-huh.
stuff like that. Like that was really cool.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I know like some of the undergarments like Nesium has like pockets for cell phones and things like that. So that's kind of a neat concept that you could like get right through the short to access
Yeah,
the
sure.
bib. And now, when it comes to you, is it difficult sometimes for you to ride in clothing? Because does your brain always think like, how could this be a little bit better? Whereas like, I just know when I ride something, I'm like, I really like this, like the Scout shorts, for example, by Tasco. I'm like, man, I love the way that the pockets are on the side. My phone's never like bouncing off my thigh. It's always on the side of my quad.
Right.
The zipper locks that you have on there, and just what are they, at the meeting points, you have it like double stitched, and like there's like that glue part over there. I mean,
Yeah.
dude,
It's a little bit of a tape on there.
yeah, and then the Velcro is like facing away from my skin. So on
Yeah.
the inside of the waistband for the holiday season and unholiday season.
Yeah.
But yeah, does your brain just continuously try to think of ways to make things better for us out there on the bikes?
Yeah, for sure. Like it's a little tricky because when you're working somewhere, like when I was at Tasco, I'm pretty much always wearing Tasco product. You know what I mean? And I'll go for like an early morning ride. I'll try to sneak something else on, but I can't
Yeah.
go to Sedona and ride around in like a Fox kit or something, you know. So really, like a majority, it's really improving your own product because I'm putting however many hours, say like 10 hours a week, in the Scout short, and things are going to bug you. You're gonna constantly be taking notes on. God, I wish this pocket just went up a little bit higher. You know, it's hard to grab, or I wish there was I don't know, waist adjuster. It's hard to grab it because the Velcro goes all the way to the end of the adjuster, and you can't grab it with your gloves. It's just like little tweaks. Like there's been a ton of improvements to the Scout short
Yeah.
since the first generation one, but like you probably didn't even notice because they're little, just usability tweaks and just like
Yeah.
small improvements.
I mean, I only noticed like the big stuff, like the Scout shorts. It's made from the recycled material, and then the
Yeah.
the Phantom type of material for the summertime. That very lightweight version of the Scout short. But what were some of the minor tweaks that you did? Just now thinking about it, I could look back at those shorts and be like, oh yeah, what
Yeah.
what were they?
So this kind of like ties back to designing to a price point, but that short originally was supposed to have uh, a no sew leg opening, which is basically like it's bonded, so there's
Okay,
no stitching, and
okay,
that's why those little um, you call them glue tabs, like how there's that little tape on top
yeah,
of the bar tack.
yeah, those little black squares.
Yeah, so like
Yeah,
that was originally there just because when you tape stuff, where it's taped, at the seam is like the most common spot for failure because that's
okay,
where you have the most fabric.
okay, like the
So
weakest
like what you
point,
do,
maybe.
yeah, it's like imagine it being hemmed,
Uh huh.
so it's being folded over to be hemmed, but there's actually glue in between. So it's like there's just like the stitching and the multiple layers of fabric that are getting folded on top of each other, and like that's where it always comes apart.
Got
So
it.
like what you do is you do the bar tack, which is just like that little cluster of thread, and then I put the transfer tape on top of it to kind of like lock it in and make sure that nothing would come apart.
Got it.
Yeah.
Interesting. Wow.
So that was left over from that. We had to take it off for cost reasons. Then, but we like the way that looks. You know, it makes a short
Yeah.
unique, and it's a nice feature for durability anyway. So we ended up keeping it.
Okay. So like little things like that were the tweaks from like version 1 to version 2, so to speak. And then
Hmm.
the ones that Nate has now, I know we kind of like, I don't want to breeze over a TLD. That's a big deal, and already we're talking about Tasco, but I believe it's the session shorts now that you guys designed. Those are
Hmm.
cool because I could literally jump off the bike and go straight into date night with those suckers. Was that something along the lines of like, hey man, we gotta figure out something that's kind of like lives in both lifestyles, active wear and just casual lifestyle wear?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It
I mean,
was.
you figure, have you ever ridden in like a board short or a hybrid surf short?
Yeah, yeah, like that little stretchier material, right?
Yeah, and just the fit's different. Like the
Yeah.
biggest thing is that the scout shorts you could wear all day, but it is kind of irritating that there's zippers and there's no back pocket for your wallet, and then there's zippers in the front. So it's just kind of like not as intuitive as your regular walk short, right?
Yeah.
So that one was kind of like, this is the short. It's literally the short you would be wearing, but it's just performance. So you can run into the store, you can walk the dog, you can do whatever you got to do, but you can just hop on your bike too. You know, it's kind of we were very focused on kind of just the outdoor vibe of like camping and riding and just multi-sport, you know, just being outdoors. So that's
Yeah.
kind of where that thing came from.
Got it. That makes sense. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a great lifestyle short, and for performance wise, I just feel like I'm like, oh man, I feel a little bit more tuned up in these shorts. You know, I feel more respectable in these. And sometimes when I'm bouncing from my scouts to the session, if I need to, it's a button on the scout, so I just like pull the waist and like everything comes undone in the Velcro. But with the other ones, it's like an actual button that I have to
Yeah.
pull through the little
You got to
buttonhole.
rip it off if you forget.
Exactly. But it's so designed so tight. I'm like, hey, what's stuck? What's going on?
Yeah.
Spokesman saying, hey, gonna see shorts Velcro onto the seats at some point, calling it the glute bind technology.
There you go.
Thank you, Steve. Multi-million-dollar
I
idea.
don't know if that would be a benefit.
Right. I'm trying to get away from the bike.
Yeah,
Oh
but
man.
that said, nothing's worse than like getting WD-40 or not, like something slippery, you know,
Yes.
Maxima spray or something on your saddle, and you go ride, and you're like, what is happening?
Exactly. Or when you get the sunscreen, when you start to get sweaty, you're
Yeah,
like, "Oh god, here we go. I'm gonna die today." Spokesman saying, "Board shorts dry out fast." I've always liked that. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I think he liked the Steve, I think you like the new session shorts there by Tasco. Um, they're pretty similar. Like you got I bet you I could surf in those things. I mean, it's
yeah. I'm
bendable,
sure you
it's
could.
stretchy. Yeah. They'd look pretty nice.
Yeah,
So going back, let's go back to TLD because in the storyline we still have you there. You're designing. You guys are pumping out 3X, moving things. You're there with your brother, and you physically have like kind of like your signature on a lot of their product. Why? What happened there? Was it too monotonous, too much pressure, or just saw an opportunity to grow?
yeah. So I spent over 5 years at TLD, and it was still like one of the best experiences ever. You know,
Dude,
it
I
was so much fun.
bet.
Like we traveled a ton. We went to Euro bikes and to downhill races in Austria, and it was
Dude,
like,
big
you know,
budgets. Big
more than you
budgets.
could ever ask for. It was so much
Right.
fun. The reason, so after TLD, I went to Answer Racing. So
Okay.
that's like they're basically motocross only. It's a little weird, like because they were really big in bike, kind of in the heyday. They, I don't know, maybe you guys are familiar with them. I'm not certain, but right now, um, the Hayes Group owns Answer for the bicycle market. And
Okay.
then another company, Tucker, which is a distributor, they own Answer for the motocross market.
Oh, crazy.
So like, yeah, it's split, and they don't really like cross that line, you know.
Got it. They're very
So
siloed, huh? They're
they're
almost 2
siloed,
separate
yeah. Like
companies. Yeah.
they are
Yeah.
two completely separate companies. So when I went to Answer, I went to the motocross Answer,
Okay.
but I was hired to design mountain bike gear.
What?
So
Wait,
like I'm basically going there to launch their mountain bike program.
under Tucker answer
Yeah,
or okay.
yeah. So it's the wrong one. We don't have the license to make we don't have the license to sell this gear, but we're gonna design it, and then we're gonna pitch it to Answer Bike and try to work a deal where they're gonna distribute it for us or buy it, you know, or it, it could have gone several different ways.
Got it. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
So it was a cool opportunity because I was literally like building it from the ground up,
dang.
had like a pretty good budget, and And so that's what I did. Like I spent a year just like grinding, hyper focused, like built this really cool line with stuff that I still haven't seen in the market. And
Whoa.
I got to keep it a secret because maybe I'm going to make some of this stuff.
Yes, right?
But yeah, but it never made it to market.
Was that was that a lot of pressure knowing that you were building something kind of to be packaged up and hopefully sold to the other side of Answer?
Yeah, I mean it was, but I mean I honestly I thought the whole time like they're definitely going to want this. Like
Yeah.
there's no doubt it's going to go, and it just never happened. It was complicated with just like the legal side of making it happen, and the Hayes Group, they own like Reynolds Carbon Wheels, they own
Good lord.
Sun, they own um, Forks. Which brand is it? Manitou, I think.
Jeez, deep
So
pockets.
they have like, and they own Pro Taper too. So they got a lot going on.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow. So they had multiple sources of income that they can kind of like lean on. If a project kind of falls apart, they've already got a couple of their irons in the fire they can
totally.
turn
Yeah,
to. So wow, wow. Deep pockets you're working with. And then when that didn't, when that didn't pan out for the products, but obviously you have it in your mind, when a company doesn't move forward with something, do you have to sign like a temporary like a do not compete clause or something that lasts for a period of time? So you have to kind of just hold on to those great ideas for a bit.
yeah. Well, no, it wasn't like that because basically I designed the line. I had the entire physical product line like on a rolling rack next to my desk.
Oh,
I had already trying to like I was basically already selling it to the reps. Like I was ready to go, and then it just kind of died.
oh no.
So it was cool because they didn't. It wasn't like, hey, this isn't going. Like, see you later. The answer was super nice, and they're like, we could use another motocross gear designer. Like, let's just transition you to work on moto gear.
Oh yeah, kept you in house and just
So
yeah.
yeah, so that's what I did. I moved over to moto, and I designed like their entire racewear with one other designer. So I did that for probably 2 years before going to Tasco.
Okay, so they restructured you in, which is cool, and you got to pump out some stuff and maybe even some similar things that kind of could apply from bike just differently than to the moto side.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure. Like a lot of that, I thought Renault was part of it. Yeah, it could be. I could be mistaken on that,
yeah, for the
or
folks that are
maybe they recently acquired it.
listening in on the audio version, spokesman MTP is asking. I thought Reynolds was part of Bell Giro. So hard to keep track of. I know some of those big
Yeah,
companies, man. They just have so many like entities, so many DBAs and
right.
companies within a company. So, so yeah, you were saying you were probably able to take some of the ideas that you had fresh in your mind from the that were going to go to the bike side
Hmm.
and kind of tweak them a bit to go to the moto side.
Yeah, it was actually pretty fun to make that switch because moto is different. There's kind of, I mean, there's more in a way to work with. You have like all those rubber TPRs, or what they're called. There's all those rubber parts on there, and it's heavier duty material. And at that time, Answer was building an off road, like an enduro um, collection. So like those kind of like Climb. If you guys are familiar with Climb, KLIM, they make like amazing enduro, like off road gear. So we were kind of building that too, and that's really fun to work on because it's super technical, like multi-layered jackets with 20 pockets and liners, and it's just like
Jeez,
really really fun. Like the higher up the price point goes, kind of the more fun this stuff is to work on.
that makes sense. Yeah, the more freedom,
Yeah,
like you don't have to worry about. We can only have two zippers on this thing in order to be in the right spot. You can, design whatever you want.
yeah, yeah. And a lot of that stuff too, like it has kind of like integration for to like slip in the D30 liners in there. So it's kind of like what I was talking about earlier, where it's very convertible. The
Yeah,
sleeves zip off and the liner comes out, and it's just technical fun.
that's cool. Yeah, multi-purpose wear, protection, comfort, durability, performance. What would you say was your kind of what was your favorite product design on the bike side and then also on the moto side
But my favorite bike product I've ever designed has to be the Ace short
for
at Troy
TLD?
Lee.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that one at the time, it's pretty common now, but like in 2015 when I first designed that short, it wasn't very common to see bonded seams or welded seams, and it was kind of a new concept because the Ace was kind of Troy Lee's cross country kit.
Oh, interesting.
Now we'd probably call it like down
Down
country.
country. Yeah.
But I was trying to do is basically build a short that would you could just put over your Lycra cross country kit and you could race in it. So that whole kit was cool because the jersey was a 3 pocket like cross country jersey,
Uh-huh.
but it was fit in a way where the bottom wasn't super tight, so you could wear it with baggy shorts.
Nice. That's my
So like I don't
style.
know if anyone's tried to wear like a cross country jersey with baggy shorts, it's just awkward unless
Right.
it's like
Yeah.
opened up.
Yeah. I'm not very
So yeah, that
aerodynamic
one was
down
cool.
here.
Yeah, and that short won the Design and Innovation Award for 2015,
Oh,
which was like
cool.
it was really cool. It's the only award that I've ever I've ever won
Dude, that's
for
pretty
design
big.
anyway. Yeah.
That's pretty
Yeah,
big,
it's
man.
super cool.
That's really cool. Now, when you pull up to a site, I'm thinking if I were designing shorts and I designed something like the Ace short, I probably would roll up to every time I get to the top of a climb and see a group of people. I probably scan the squad and
Right.
and look. But how does it feel when you see like one of your babies out there on the trail, so to speak? Does it feel
Yeah, it's really
good?
cool.
Is it cool?
Yeah, it's really cool. And I think it's interesting because I probably the first product I designed was the Y-Industries stuff, and that was 2010, I think. I think it came out in 2011. And I'll still see those sometimes.
Yes.
And that's really mind blowing. And I see a lot of the TLD stuff that I designed still like at Sky Park and stuff. So yeah, I don't ever like, hey dude, I designed that.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. That just has a bad feel to it, but it is
Yeah.
cool to see.
I couldn't see you being that guy to be like, "Yo, I designed that," but I could see you kinda, like, taking that, like, smile on the inside, going, "Right on.
Yeah.
That's cool to see that."
Yeah. Actually this weekend I was riding Whiting with my son. And there was a guy I overheard him talking, like he's like, "Yeah, I'm here from New York. I'm just like here for the weekend." He was on a fat bike, and he was out here, and Whiting is up in Lake Forest, and he was wearing all Tasco stuff. So I had to ask him. I was like, "Dude, how did you like find out about Tasco?"
Yeah, all the way from the
and he,
East Coast, right?
yeah, from the East Coast. I mean, yeah, Tasco is nationwide, but like we
Yeah.
have pockets, or like Tasco has pockets of where they're more popular or whatever. And he was like, "Oh, dude, I'm on a race team, and Nate sponsors me." And like, I just talked to him yesterday. That's so cool.
That's so cool.
Yeah,
Oh, dang, that's awesome. That had to make you smile because that's,
yeah, it was fun.
probably that whole kit was your design.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I think the cool part was he knew more about it than I did. He's like, "Yeah, last November, the small batch like stuff that came out, it perfectly matches our team kit for this year. So I'm gonna order a bunch of them." I'm like, "What was November? I can't remember what we launched."
Oh man, that's good stuff, man. So you'd say the A shorts for TLD, got to be one of the ones, and then you won that award there. And then what about on the moto side? What do you feel proud of there?
Yeah, let's see. Definitely that off-road collection that we came out with at Answer.
Yeah,
That was pretty fun.
that enduro
And
line.
then yeah,
Yeah.
enduro stuff. There was another pant, at Answer, and it was called the Trinity. And like I can't really take even probably a third credit for it because it was a team that kind of built that pant. But it was cool because it was basically a mountain bike pant with leather on the inside of the knees. You know, it was really like four-way stretch. Everything was bonded on the inside, so there was no liner.
Wow.
And that was a really cool kind of innovative product for that time.
Dang. Man, it's so cool. You got to do so many different things in the industry, you know, when it comes to the apparel side and creative, like, and that's just not where you live. You do other things too, like website design and marketing and all kinds of stuff. So you're at TLD, you get over to Tasco. Now, how did Nate get you from TLD? What did he do? Did he steal you
Yeah,
at
yeah.
like a at one of those shows?
No, he tried. Yeah. No, no, not at all. No, I met Nate at a Fontana race,
Okay.
and he was had it was called Oso MTB
Oh,
when he first started it.
oh, you got on early then.
I wasn't working for him at that time, but that's when I met
Okay.
him.
Oh,
I
gotcha,
met him
gotcha.
at he was at Fontana. I got a little 10 by 10 and like I don't know 3 or 4 t-shirts hanging up, and he was hawking the shirts at the races. You know.
Yeah.
I met him and he was kind of like, we talked and he was like, yeah, you know, I would love for you to design some stuff for me. But at that time I was at Troy Lee and I was like, I can't, you know, it's a
Yeah,
conflict.
conflict of
But
interest.
let's stay in touch, you know, like I'd like to see where your company goes, like good luck, all that stuff. So when I guess, you know, it was probably, I think, probably 5 years later that I like started work. It was after Answer, so it was like I went from Troy Lee
To
to
answer.
Answer, and then after like 3 years at Answer, Nate had grown the business big enough to support an employee, and he wanted to bring me on.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I was you know I was already a fan, and I liked what he was doing, so I was on
Yeah.
board.
I love his story. That's a very cool, like underdog story. You know, start with some product in your bedroom, and then
Right.
your kiddo is the one that actually names it Tasco. You know, and
Yep.
then go from the bedroom to the garage to the location off of Tiger Run, where he's at right
Yep.
now. It's pretty.
Yep.
It's pretty cool. So when you got a hold, when you teamed up with Nate, was it mainly just t-shirts at the time? And then you helped expand it
Yeah.
into the gloves and the shorts and pants and everything?
Yeah, so when let's see, it was I think Nate had kind of started toying with gloves, so it was the double digit.
Mhm,
That chassis kind of already existed,
mhm.
but I did all like the first graphics for that glove. So
Got
like
it.
I don't know if I could remember what they were now. Red camo, indivisible, bike bits, I think those three.
Wow. That was the first 3.
Yeah, those were the first three. And so it was literally when I started, it was just gloves, like gloves and socks, about three styles of glove and sock
Whoa.
kit.
Whoa. Was the Indivisible like what the Indivisibles are today with, like, the American flag theme? Is that kinda just
Yeah,
this?
they were different design, but yeah, same theme.
Yeah. Now one of the gloves that, man, I think is when I see it on the trail, I'm just like, from far away, I'm like, "Tasco for sure." It's the Misfits.
Oh
The
yeah,
yeah, those, dude, I'm always like, "Yep, yep, there's Tasco over there for sure."
yeah.
Was
I
that
see those all the time.
right?
Yeah,
Those are dope. Was that your idea to do the Misfits? Which, for the folks who don't know, those are the ones that look like skeleton hands.
yeah. I think I don't remember how that came about. I don't remember if we were just spitballing one day and that came up.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, I honestly don't remember. But
those
yeah,
are dope.
that's a cool design. I remember like back when I was racing moto, Fox had a glove that was like it was like a pit, like a mechanic's glove, or I don't know, some type of like off the bike glove,
Uh-huh.
and it had like the skeleton print. And I think
Oh.
I always like that.
Yeah, yeah, it looks cool, man. It looks cool. I always like October's coming around and those things sell out. Those things sell out
Yeah,
like crazy. So let's talk a little bit about you on the bike. You know, we talked about the apparel line and everything that you do to make us feel good, be protected, but be like not dying from sweat out there and not being restrictive in our body movement. But where does Jeremy like to ride, and what kind of a rider are you, Jeremy?
Okay. Well, I like primarily right now. I'm a hardtail lycra wearing cross country guy.
Yeah, I saw you at the
But
OTH.
yeah, but I mean, I when I first got into bikes again after college, it was like riding on my dirt jumper, and then I discovered Fontana,
Uh-huh.
and I immediately got a downhill bike, and so that's like I was racing downhill almost exclusively for like the first 5 6 years of kind of getting back into riding again,
Yeah.
and it was actually really a fun time. Like I was working at a sign shop like way out in East County, San Diego,
Okay.
while I was going to school,
Like
and there
Santee
was this,
area or like,
yeah, what was it called, like Lake Jennings Park Road. I
oh,
don't remember Alpine. It's basically Alpine.
okay. Oh yeah, that is pretty far east, closer to ATT, Anderson Truck Trail out that way.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
what it was. Like there was a group that would ride Anderson every Friday, and
No
I like
way.
linked up with them. This guy Josh had this like old kind of beater BMW wagon that he specifically bought just to shuttle that trail once a
No.
week.
Whoa, that's
He had
awesome.
he had like the roof rack, like 4 bikes on top, 4 bikes on the back, and it was like just charge up that fire road, and we'd all just hammer down.
Wait, you could actually, I didn't know you could do that. You could actually shuttle
Used to
ATT?
be able to
Okay.
shuttle it,
Okay.
and that was, yeah, it was amazing.
Dude, that would be amazing. For the folks that don't know or haven't ridden ATT, it's like I mean, you got to climb up this fire road just to get to the trail heads like Spicoli 1, 2, and 3. And then you go down
Right.
this fun fire road down. It's like it's a fire road down, but it's fast. And there's like cool hits on the side and wall rides. And then you got this
Yeah.
beautiful lake view on your right with exposure. So it's you don't want to miss a turn.
Can get a little hairy. I haven't ridden that trail for probably over 10 years, so I don't even know what you have to do now to ride it.
Dude, yeah. So basically, at that, you go up, and then you go up that fire road that you remember, and then
Mhm.
they have some fun trail systems at the top of that. So like when you get there, you're at the top, and you're like, "Whoo, where are the trails like to the side of here? Like, are we here?" And it's like,
Yeah.
no, yes, you're at the top of this, but the trails are up there. You're like, holy crap.
So how long did it take to climb up there?
Dude, it took me a long time. We went with the big squad, and it was like half of us were half of us were e-bikers, and the other half were analog. And I was on the YT Jeff C analog bike at the time, so my pace
Okay.
was way faster than I normally would be, just because of the mix of the different bikes. Time wise, I want to say it took me, dude, it was a long time. It felt like a long time. I had to stop a couple times and take a breather, which I normally don't have to, but that's long. That was a long one for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you want to hit all the trails once you get up there,
Yeah.
so you
Yeah,
climb
there
back
was
up.
some really big features, like at least back in the day. Like it's kind of rocky out there, so there's all
Yes.
these like little features that are built on the boulders and little
Yes.
drop offs and stuff.
Yeah, there's like one that transfers from boulder to boulder. And I remember, if you don't make it, if you're just hitting it at trail speed, I think you just sail right over. But I was scoping everything out for the first time, and I just like walked down to see how deep this crevice was, and it was like way over my head. And
Damn.
when the guys hit it, I filmed from standing on the sand, and they just were. It was almost like going from rooftop to rooftop, is what it looked like. Yeah,
Yeah, that's cool.
there's some big stuff out there for sure. So you're out East County working this job and
Yeah.
shuttling with these guys. That sounds pretty epic.
Yeah, it was like kind of what, like it really kind of maybe cemented my obsession with bikes, honestly, because between that and then like discovering Fontana and just kind of getting into the downhill race scene, super
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah. What kind
Um,
of bike did you have to buy for that, for the DH scene out there?
my first one was a Iron Horse.
What?
Even though
No,
would
what
I?
is that? I feel like if Joey was on
Yeah,
tonight, he'd be popping all these up. I don't know what Iron Horse is.
if you go back to like the old Sam Hill videos,
Okay.
he's on an Iron Horse, and so they were amazing bikes, like especially for back then. I feel like, anyways, they were really fun, kind of like more gravity style bikes.
I'm gonna try to pop it up here on the let's see. I just did a Google search and a ton of stuff came up. Iron Horse. Tell me if you see anything that looks
Yeah,
like what it is.
let me see, it's a little small here.
Here's one here. 2008 Iron
Yeah,
Horse
that's
Sunday Expert. Wow, what is this thing? The the
yeah,
Geo
that's
on
it. The
that.
Sunday. Yeah, I didn't have the Sunday. I had like I forget what it was called, 7.3 or something like that.
Dude,
It was more of a trail bike.
that's not I mean, I know the Geo's way different, but if I just glanced at that bike, I wouldn't be like, "Oh, that's from like 2008."
Yeah, no, the design was really cool, and
Whoa.
yeah, plus Sam Hill rode one, so back then that's all you needed.
Right? Whoa. That's pretty cool. So so you had an Iron Horse for Fontana. You're loving the DH racing out there.
Oh,
Are
I gotta tell you the other bikes
y
real quick, because
yeah.
I had some really weird bikes. I had a giant, I forget what it was called, Fathom or something.
Okay.
Um, but the real one, the like real interesting one, was a Chumba F5, I think it was called.
Chumba F5.
Like that name could be. I just made that name up. Is that right?
There it is, dude. Chumba
That green one
Racing.
right there.
The green one right there.
Yeah. So
What
yeah,
the
like somewhere
heck?
on my social, there's a picture of me racing that at Sea Otter.
Bro, where's
Thing
the
was
seat tube
insane.
on
No,
that thing?
there's no seat tube. You don't get a seat tube, man.
Holy cow, man.
But it's
So
like literally a dirt bike swing arm. It has like the linkage is kind of similar to a motocross bike, and
whoa.
yeah, and mine even had like a floating rear caliper. So it had like this silly metal tube that like connected from like the linkage somewhere all the way back to the caliper, and the caliper was floating. It wasn't like stationary.
Whoa. That's crazy. That does look like a motorcycle.
Yeah, it was fun. I mean, it was a super fun bike. I actually had an
Wow.
air shock too, which was really kind of new for that year.
Wow. What's the
Yeah,
travel
ton
on
of fun.
on this sucker? That looks huge.
That's a Fox 40, so it would be like 200,
Okay.
I think. Yeah,
Wow. How fun. That thing was it heavy? I mean, bikes today are super light, but was this thing
yeah,
like a tank?
yeah. It was heavy. I never. I don't think I've ever weighed a bike, but yeah, that it was heavy. You go over to your right. There's a black frame,
Okay.
and it has the floating caliper thing on it. One
Right
more.
here.
Yeah, that thing. See that like rod that comes down,
Right
and
right
that,
there?
yeah. So it's kind of a weird system.
Whoa.
No, the
What
one
is
on the bottom beneath the swing arm.
Oh, here.
Yeah, that one. Yeah.
Whoa, what is that?
So like that piece that it attaches to is
Yeah.
just is just like floating around the axle.
What?
And then that piece is what you attach the caliper to. So like
What?
when you're braking, yeah, when you're braking, like in theory, it like removes the caliper from like the suspension system, I guess.
Okay,
And
got
it's
it.
like you don't get like a stiff suspension from braking, I guess.
Got
I don't
it.
even know if it worked. Probably not,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, it's like separated, so it's not impacted by your braking or your suspension to braking. It's all meant to be. Yeah, that's crazy. Wow. What crazy
yeah,
ingenuity.
yeah, super
Dang.
cool. I still like the look of that frame, and it's probably just me because I had one, but it's cool. It's
So
cool
funny that
looking.
you're like, dude, I just made that up, I think. Chumba Racing F5, and there it is.
I'm glad the F5 was right because that did not feel right.
So you had this Chumba F5. Was this the Fontana rig for your racing?
Yeah, I raced a lot on that, and then the last downhill bike I had was a Cove Shocker.
Wow. Let's see if
Yeah, and that was a really nice bike.
I would
I
try to
used to
type.
pedal
So
that up Skyline.
what?
Yeah.
Dude, that's crazy, Jeremy. You're in good shape, man. So it's probably safe to say you don't have an e-bike, or do you?
I have a Rad Power, but I don't have
Okay.
a mountain bike.
Rad powers are fun. Like so
Yeah,
good to be able to take those over to the beach.
I love it. Yeah, I
Kids to
pick
school.
Grayson up from school. Most days on it. It's super fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. We got a few folks that jumped into the community
Yeah,
with us here. What's up, Kaz? MTB Kaz is in here, and MTB Raging just made it. He says, "Wow, just made it." Yeah,
nice.
Craig. Friday night, we're doing a podcast. Jeremy Kneisly of a lot of the
Got
products
it
that
right.
you wear. Jeremy is the godfather of that, so to speak.
Oh man, I don't know if I'd go that far, but that's cool. Thanks.
creator of these. Yeah, so cool. That's do you and so then how did you go from DH? What got you into the whole XC scene? Was it
Yeah, I I broke my back in
oh,
yeah, in Colorado. I was out there for a work trip, and so it was this is what happened. I was shuttling into the day, like the last run, right? It's
oh
always the
no.
last one.
Oh no.
Um, but it would have to be, right? If you get hurt, you're not gonna go up
Right.
again.
It's true.
But basically, like
True.
I was on a specialized enduro. It was like that. Would have been 2016. No, 2013. Yeah, this is 2013. And it was like the brand new carbon enduro long track, like super cool bike. But it had this like DT Swiss axle on it.
Okay.
And it was one of the ones with like the lever that's if you pull on it, it like
Yeah.
disengages it and you can reposition it.
Okay.
So like those were super problematic. They would get bumped by stuff and then the
Uh-oh.
axle would loosen up. And this is what happened to me.
I
Like the
hear
axle,
foreshadowing coming here.
yeah, exactly. I wish I would have known it was an issue, but yeah, what's up, Nick? I it came loose on the trail, and
Oh
I'm just
god.
like crushing down. I don't even know what trail it was. It was at
Colorado. I'm
in
thinking just
Colorado.
big mountain, fast, steep.
Yeah, it was for like an Enduro World Series. So we're just out like
Holy
having
crap.
a time. I was with like Curtis Keen and Rachel Straight and like a few photographers and Stick from TLD. So like a super fun crew. We're just like, just having fun. And so I come into this corner, like flying, and I don't even know what happened because I'm the victim here. But like I go over and just kind of like head first into the berm, and it was kind of like a drop away corner, so it was
Okay.
kind of went down like pretty far,
Ooh,
and ended up I ended up breaking like or fracturing yeah, it was like a compression fracture T6 through 9.
good
So
grief.
that's
You
like
basically
between the
tried to
shoulder
tack.
blades.
Okay. So you kind of went into the
Yeah,
berm like you were tackling the berm almost and just compressed in.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah,
Oh,
not good. So the bike actually came apart. Is what caused it. The axle backed out and the wheel, like twisted, and I wasn't expecting it, so it just pitched me over the front.
jeez. Holy crap.
Yeah, messed up.
Wow. Okay. So was it one of those things like you woke up in the hospital and people had to tell you what happened? Was there footage of it or anything like that? Or
No, no footage. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but it
right.
was like I remember crashing kind of. I remember like being taken down on a quad. I was like on a stretcher on a trailer being pulled by a quad like all the way
Oh,
down the mountain.
you're like every bump hurts, fellas.
Yeah, I'm like take it easy. But yeah, like I don't remember a ton of details like from the crash, because you kind of like I think I most likely was knocked out for a little bit.
Yeah.
But like luckily, the resort we were at, I don't know why I'm blanking on the name. They have like a world class like emergency center, and it's like at the base of the mountain.
Oh, that's good. It
And
was
then
close
the
by.
hospital I ended up at was like literally the spinal surgeons were the best in the world, I'm pretty sure.
Whoa,
So I
dude.
ended up having to have surgery. I had like they had to stabilize that whole area. So they put like two rods on like either side of the spine, and then 10 screws. So like screw in 6 through 9 straight down.
Jeez. Just to stabilize the vertebrae. Were the vertebrae broken like crunched this way, or were they
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
broken like okay, okay,
Like compressed like that.
compressed?
So
Oh,
yeah, and like one of them was in like worse shape than the rest because
okay.
the surgeon was like, you could probably like wear one of those turtle shell like back braces, I guess it is.
Uh-huh.
So you'd be in it for like 12 months, you know.
Oh, that'd take
And
forever.
he's like, I recommend surgery for sure.
Yeah.
And so I did, and I still had to wear a brace. I think I was in a brace for like 6 months, but I was
Wow.
able to like walk around pretty easily and
Yeah.
move a bit.
Was the fear to stabilize it, was the fear that things would move and affect the spinal cord? Is that why they wanted to do
Yeah.
that? Okay. Damn. Damn, Jeremy. So did were you like mid pack when that happened? Was like uh
I don't remember. You know who's behind me was a photographer, Dave Trumpor.
okay.
Like you've probably seen his stuff. He's super good. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I was towards the front. I think because I remember Stick coming up after and like looking at the bike because he was the one that kind of figured out what happened.
Got it. Okay. Dang.
Yeah.
Traumatic, man. So that was that's where you I mean, that's a big one to come back from. So you decided after that, like, no more DH for me and or
Um, no, I don't think so. I think I was, it took 6 months of recovery. So I had bought a gravel bike just to like ride the bike path and start
yeah,
moving my legs again.
yeah, get
And
exercise.
yeah, and obviously I wasn't trying to like rush back to downhill,
Right.
but I
That's
wasn't like, I'm not gonna ever do that again. I
yeah.
just I think I bought a hardtail just to because it was more fun than the gravel bike for me. And then
Yeah.
I just really liked it. Like I just as I spent more time on the cross country bike, it was fun. And then I ended up going back to Fontana, but I was racing cross country now.
Oh,
And yeah, it
sweet.
was cool. It's another challenge to kind of to get after. Like I felt like I had kind of like I could check downhill off. Like I was happy with the race result and my skill level I had achieved.
Yeah.
But then this cross country thing is like this whole new kind of like challenge, I guess.
Dude, it's like ripping around on a Porsche out there, fast,
Yeah.
responsive, picking the
Yeah, dude,
lines.
and it's different too. Like you can get into flow state pretty easily on, like on a mountain bike now. Like I'm sure at Greer when you're like shredding and you kind of like you're hyper
Tunnel.
focused.
Yes.
Like you can get that, but on a cross country bike, like I can get that easier because like your heart rate's super high and you're going fast. I don't know. It just like it captured me, I think, because of that.
Dude, and I bet part of the moto, like the love that you had for moto, because like you're not just the one dude on the track, you've got other folks around you, and then there's that like competitive feel, like I feel them right next to me,
Right,
and I
yeah. There's a
gotta
little
get
strategy going on, and you can play
yes,
games with the pack and all that stuff.
right, get the whole shot, drift, whatever.
Yeah.
It's that's cool, man. That's really cool. So you fell in love with XE, and now do you still is it still XE hardtail, or are you just on like a smaller travel bike that you're ripping around on, or
I pretty much like switch it up. I've
yeah,
been on, I've had like the full suspension Epic for some years. Right now, my only bike is a hardtail. So that's what
dang.
I'm running right now, that Chisel, which is a
Eh,
super fun bike.
Explain for the folks like I haven't ridden much XC, but can you explain a little bit on how it feels different? Like I heard you say a little bit about it, but like how is the XC bike like different than the trail bike when you're out there?
Yeah. Um, I mean, it's just like really, especially with the hardtail, it's extremely responsive. Like put power on the pedal and you're going. Like there's
Sweet.
no squish, right?
Yeah.
Like cornering is, I guess the biggest thing is just the travel, because even my chisel, the geometry is pretty slack. It's probably like what my chumba was,
Yeah.
like
Jumbo F5.
yeah. So like, yeah, it's just like right now when I ride a long travel bike right now, I don't like I don't feel comfortable because I'm just going in the corners and you just feel so much movement and so much squish. So even when I ride trails, I prefer to have like a shorter travel trail bike. I just like the way it feels, I guess.
Yeah, I bet. I mean, once you get that feeling, that responsive feeling, that playfulness of the bike to be able to, you know, just feel it, I guess
Yeah,
is for lack
a
of a
lot of
better
it
word.
too is just like most of my riding is from my garage and just like going out for an hour and a half. And like to get to the trails is a half an hour ride just to get to the trail, but it's all
Yeah,
bike path. But
yeah.
like I want to get there as fast as I can. Like I want to, so it's just part of the ride. Like you just put the hammer down, you get up there, you do your loop, you get back, and
Sick.
it's super satisfying.
Yeah, dropping that hammer. Are you you Strava in those rides so that you can kind of look at your times and be like, today
Yeah,
is the day.
yeah. It's funny. I was just looking at it because I got like I got a calm, and which you never get anymore.
Damn.
Like, oh, what? I like changed something, and it's just kind of like an obscure loop, so it's nothing like special. But I was like going through the stats, and I have almost 2,000 rides recorded on Strava. I think I'm just
Whoa.
about to get to 2,000.
Dang, Jeremy, that's a
Yeah,
lot,
look
dude.
at it.
That's awesome.
Like almost, I think like 30,000 miles or something.
Oh my
But yeah,
god.
I was like, wow. I mean, I've been using it for quite a while, but I was a little bit surprised.
That's cool. That's gotta feel good. That's gotta feel really good.
Yeah,
I couldn't imagine
yeah.
2,000 recorded rides. Whoa. Whoa. How much of on those recorded rides, how much of those would you say is XC now? Are you catching up to your DH days now, or do you think you've surpassed?
I don't know. Can you track that?
I
I'm not sure.
um I think you'd have to do it manually. You'd have to look back and try to add it up, but
Yeah,
yeah, that's
probably
interesting.
more. Like you figure, I broke my back in 2013. So by the end of 2014, I was probably racing cross country.
Yeah.
You know,
It makes
but
sense
I've
too.
almost always had a trail bike though.
Yeah. And it
Yeah,
makes sense. I mean, if you're taking off from your garage, that's pretty nice. You're gonna, versus the DH times we had to like drive somewhere and then
dude,
shuttle
find
up
someone to
and
shuttle you.
exactly, exactly. Oh my gosh. Modern OC data saying, hey, don't be modest. You're a local legend, Jeremy.
Yeah. Thanks,
That
dude.
is cool. Spokesman saying, "Hey, man, I'm always say I'm glad I never discovered moto. I'd probably be dead by now."
Yeah, I
Oh,
still have some injuries that come back once in a while from moto.
oh man, I bet, I bet. So, Jeremy, like we talked about design, we talked about you on the bike, and you're a dad, you're a family man. In today's market, 2023, I know it's hard for a lot of folks in the bike industry. Everything's kind of slowed down, but yet people have inventory from like 2021 orders that they had to place really early.
Yeah,
Where are you looking to put your skills now?
yeah. I mean, I'm definitely still want to be focused on the bike industry, but you're right. Like it's going to be a weird. It's hard to say how long. Maybe a year, maybe 2 years.
Yeah,
Um, so right now, I'm just doing as much like freelance as I can, just trying to help out, local businesses and companies, and looking around. And I'm not like specifically focused on the bike industry. I'm definitely open to anything else, medical, you know, honestly, anything.
yeah. Still in that same line of work though, like apparel design or graphic design.
Yeah, yeah. Graphic design, been doing that forever. Apparel, that's probably what I have the most experience in,
Uh-huh.
but it's also like a little bit probably more rare, I guess. Like there's less open positions for apparel. It's just kind of a little bit of a hard thing to do. And then I've been looking quite a bit for marketing roles as well,
Mm,
because well, I mean, I have maybe like 5 years of experience in digital marketing at this point.
okay.
And yeah, I really enjoy it. It was kind of one of those things where I just hopped on it when I was at Tasco because we all had to do everything. There was two of us for
Yeah,
the majority of the time I was there.
right.
And yeah, I just enjoy it. Like I love the tracking and the kind of like that constant iteration, like you it's really a process. Like you don't just like launch something out into the world and just like leave it.
Yeah.
You put a campaign out and then you're checking in on it daily, and you're tweaking the copy and you're adjusting the creative, and like adjusting budgets on ad placements, and it's pretty fun.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Like that whole ROI aspect of it, like what we're putting out there, what's coming back from it, and what can we tweak, and then you find the secret sauce, and then
Right, yeah,
you know,
that's like that's the motivator. Like, what's that one thing that's just gonna like set
yes,
it off?
yeah,
But I will say that's what was like really challenging about Tasco is like living, like I'm building product like for 18 months in the future,
Phew.
and then I'm doing marketing for like tomorrow, you know,
Oh
and
yeah,
like
that'd
to
be
like
crazy.
context switch like back between the two, like it was almost like disorienting. So
I
that's one thing that was like a real challenge for sure.
Oh man, I didn't realize it was 18. So you're like a year and a half trying to project in the future for design, but then also trying to sell or market, to what's in there right now. So yeah, I could imagine that would be disorienting. That'd be hard.
Yeah, like I would literally forget like what year am I in, because I'm working on 2024 product, like marketing 2022 product. So you
Wow.
got like this spread of like of confusion.
That's why you're KOMing the XC side.
Yeah, yeah. I got to go clear my head, man. I'm gonna lose it.
Right? The bike is the best therapist. I
Yeah,
love it. Oh man. Well, Jeremy, man, I wish you the best of luck with everything. And for anybody that's listening to the segment podcast audio or on YouTube right now, and you're looking for someone for marketing or apparel product design, Jeremy, where can people reach out to you?
yeah, for sure. My Instagram is at Jeremy Kneisly, and maybe I don't know, you screen grab it or put it in the show notes because it's a little tough to spell.
Yeah.
And my email is fine too. You can reach me at jeremykneisly@me.com.
Okay, jeremykneisly@me.com. I will definitely put that in the show notes for you. Talented guy. Jeremy, thank you so much for being on the show with us. One more thing that just came in, Spokesman and TV says, Jeremy, that was a fascinating talk. Thank you for showing me a side of design that is fun, innovative, and interesting. All the best to you and yours. Hope to meet you someday. Yeah,
Yeah, for sure. Thank you.
that's come from
Yeah,
another
I'll
fellow
have to
designer
come for a
there.
ride again. I came to that Fullerton ride, and
Yes.
I met like a ton of people, and I have no idea like who was who just because it was so many people. So I'd love to go meet up with you guys and hit a ride again.
Yeah. Are you by chance heading out to the Sedona Mountain Bike Festival?
Ah, man, I was planning on it, and then you said it's next weekend, and I didn't realize that,
Oh.
so probably not.
Well, I think we have a week and a half. I think it's like the first weekend of March. So a little bit of time if you do
Yeah,
decide to go. A lot of the folks that are on here are from Northern California, from all over the place. We got Southern California, Northern California, Miami, um, a lot of people. So but yeah, if you do make it, we'll introduce you to more people. I think that it's awesome everything that you've done, all the clothes that you've created and put out there that we all wear, and it's crazy to think that when you're at the top of a trailhead, people don't even realize that what they're wearing was because of you. So
right.
it's like it's nuts,
No,
it's
cool.
nuts. But thank you, Jeremy, for everything. Go ahead and give Jeremy Kneisly a follow on Instagram. Take a look in the show notes. And oh yeah, Spokesman says we are renting a house out there. He says we have a couch. So Jeremy, you have a place to crash if you want
Nice.
to
There we
come
go.
to.
Couch
Yeah, there you go. You can tow us around out
Spokesman.
there in Sedona. Thank you all for being on the Segment Podcast on Friday night. Jeremy Kneisly, everybody, creator of a lot of apparel that we all wear. Now you know. We'll see you all
Thanks,
soon.
everyone.
Good night,
See ya.
folks.